For LBC, I'm Lisa Aziz.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Esther McVey.
Hello, it's Esther McVey on LBC, and this hour I'll be talking about the latest political twists and turns as the Prime Minister resigns and sets out her departure. And as she leaves, it raises lots of questions. Who will be the next Prime Minister? How do we select the next Prime Minister? And what does that mean for Brexit? So I want to know from you, do you want the new Prime Minister, whoever that may be, to try and strike a new deal, or do you think a WTO Brexit is now inevitable? Call us on 0345 6060 973 and text 84850 or Twitter on @LBC. But as we watched the news footage today, as the Prime Minister resigned, and it was very emotional for her, and nobody can question the hard work she put in, and nobody couldn't question that she was duty bound. But really, was the compromise too much? Was her withdrawal deal just not good enough? It never came through and never passed in Parliament, and it wasn't liked in the country. So what are we going to do next? Who's going to come in next? What are they going to seek to do? And I'll put my hands up here. I better declare an interest straight away. I have put myself forward as a future leader. But really, what I want to hear tonight from you is, do you want the new Prime Minister, whoever that may be, to try and strike a new deal? Or do you think a WTO Brexit is now inevitable? That number, 0345 6060 973. Text us on 84850 or Twitter at LBC. And we've got a caller on the line already, and that caller is Eddie. We've got Josh in Newcastle. Can I hear from you, Josh?
Hello, Austin. Hello. My name is Josh, and I'm a Conservative member. And I want to ask you, how prepared and how far are you prepared to go to get no deal? I believe that's the only way we can go forward now. But there are some Conservative MPs who said they'll do everything they can to stop it. So how far would you be prepared to go to get no deal?
But the key thing, isn't it, is to listen to what the public said. And now we're looking at, we've probably going to have had 3 referendums, aren't we? The original one, which said we've got to leave. The second one, which was the general election, and that was 85% of people voting for 2 main parties who said that we'd have to leave, get out the customs union, get out the single market. And then obviously we've had these new EU elections. And what we're saying is that 31st of October is set in stone. We have to come out then, and if it means no deal, then that's what it's got to be. And as it's standing, nobody wants the Prime Minister's withdrawal deal. The EU is saying that they don't want to compromise, so we have now got to get prepared for every eventuality, and that is no deal. What are you thinking?
I completely agree. But I recently saw Dominic Grieve yesterday saying he will do everything in his power to stop a Conservative leader getting with no deal. So I am just worried that with all the Parliament trying to stop no deal, we'll be forced into another general election. And I really am a big fan of yours, I must say. And I think I'm going to vote for you if you get into the final 2.
Thank you very much.
And I think that we need someone like you who's really going to push forward for no deal and say to the EU, it's you either remove the backstop and listen to our demands, or we leave a no deal. I'm fed up of all the delays, and I think most of the country is. And I also quickly like to say, I love your blue-collar Conservative movement. I think it's exactly what we need, and I think you're the woman for the job.
Well, also I can say, what a cracking first phone caller. Thank you very much indeed. I think the question as well that we've got to look at is trust. And that trust was fundamentally broken when we didn't come out on the 29th of March. And this date now of the 31st of October has got to stay cast in stone. That is the date. That is what we've got to come out. And that is where we're saying, yes, no deal is back on the table, as is the £39 billion back there. So have we got Darren there from Solihull?
Hi Esther, how are you?
I'm very well, and you? What are you calling to say?
Very good. We met recently in Solihull, and I don't know if you remember, there was a small meeting, and I got a chance to talk to you, but I want to know how Parliament can actually stop us leaving on a WTO Brexit, which we keep hearing in the news all the time at the moment, but it's quite easy to stop us leaving on WTO.
Well, really, what had happened before is not that people were stopping what we were doing. Have you looked? It was the date that kept changing. Parliament seized control. They asked for, and remember, it was only ever to seek an extension. The Prime Minister did not need to seek an extension, and that's where you saw the date move from the 29th of March into April, into May, and now October. Actually, it is the date that we need to keep firm, and that is how we dictate what it is that happens, what is going to happen there. But obviously, you always say, if you're ever negotiating a deal, isn't it, you always say, the door's always open, the EU. If you want to come back to us with a better deal, well, you know, the door's open. But this is now the path that we're on. What do you think to that?
Well, I agree. I can't understand all these MPs that are trying to prevent us leaving on WTO. It's certainly taking them off the table. I don't see there's any other options at the moment.
And that's what we're talking about. What are the options here? What do you think now? Is WTO more inevitable, or would you be trying to strike a new deal? I've got Charlie on the phone here from Brighton.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. Basically, I mean, I'm a Brexiteer, and you've got Theresa May being very emotional when she's doing her speech. But for 3 years, we've been extremely emotional, crying tears of frustration and anger at the U-turns that she's done and pivot at every opportunity she can. She's bent her knee to Remainers and the EU. And now I'm a little bit concerned with all that we've been through as Brexiteers and Leavers and all the, stuff that we get called. If we, how can we be assured that we're going to get a Brexiteer as a Prime Minister? We have to have that now. We cannot have a Remainer leading the country anymore.
Mm. Well, obviously, it's down to the MPs in the House who they choose, and people will be putting their names forward from, technically and officially from June the 10th. And then from there, the MPs in the House will whittle it down to 2 people, and it will go out then to our members. I think a lot of people are thinking, we tried somebody before who was a Remainer. Actually, we do need a Brexiteer. And I'd be one of those people, obviously, who thinks we need a Brexiteer. Somebody who really believes in what they're doing and going forward there. But I guess people say, this half in, half out compromise that Theresa May was doing, that's what really didn't work. And it upset people. You have to follow that democratic vote and follow through what had happened. What's your views on that?
You do, otherwise democracy is completely dead. And, the last time that we were assured we were going to get Brexiteer, I mean, obviously this is what happened, wasn't it? It's that Michael Gove stepped aside because Boris Johnson, he couldn't see him be a Prime Minister. But that was the thing that I'm concerned about, is that's, dirty tactics are going to be played again. And the Leavers, that's why we're so disillusioned with everything. And that's why we, vote with our pens at the ballot box. But do you think these EU elections, the results there will have an impact on the MPs who are voting for that new leader? Do you think that will help them maybe reconcile their views and opinions? I do hope so, because what I'm concerned about, apart from the Brexiteers, the guys like the ERG, people like yourselves, are so self-centred. They're such in a bubble. They just sit in that Westminster House or Houses of Parliament, whatever, and they just don't listen to what the people want. It's what they want. It's very self-serving, and that can't continue anymore. And I think you're right. It's almost like a revolution is happening.
Well, Charlie, you've raised some very interesting points there. It is about listening to the people. If you give the people the referendum, if you say to them, here, have your say, you've delegated that responsibility to the public, they come back with a decision, then those 1,000 days should have been spent preparing for every eventuality. And one of those eventualities could have been no deal if a deal wasn't struck, because actually that is the default position, no deal. And I think really it is that preparation, which I have to tell you, the civil servants have been doing. They have been doing it. And then now that will have to be done even further because you want it to be smooth, and that's it. Now, I know we've got some text here that's come back. Somebody with a completely different point of view. They've said revoke, revoke, revoke. Then the country does not need to listen to the Tories and watch the power grab. But that person was anonymous who sent that in. Another one there, Theresa May caved into the EU too easily. We need a PM that is prepared to walk away. This country is great. We will be fine on WTO rules. And that's from Susan. And then Esther, good evening. Please describe how you would win over the Remainers. That's Ian. And that's a very interesting question. How do you? And I think for them understanding really that democracy is a very, very precious thing. How could we, in all of our hundreds of years' history, turn our backs on a democratic vote? Democracy only exists when those who are not on the winning side of the vote concede to what has been said and go forward with that. That's how it works. How can we ever judge other countries and what they've done if we don't give and concede a democratic vote? But I will say on the opposite side, politicians should have been preparing, should have been listening, should have known that they need to prepare for every eventuality. So I think only when you feel confident that those things have been done, only feel confident that we can do that, can you move forward, and also know it is about a bright future. It is about an outward-looking country, a global country, one doing free trade deals, which then will have future jobs for future generations, bringing down the cost of living. That's what you've got to do, convince everybody about what you're talking about. Paul here, Esther, we desperately need a general election. So the question I've got for you, and I want to know from you, do you want the new Prime Minister, whoever that might be, to try and strike a new deal, or do you think WTO Brexit is now an inevitability? That's what we want to hear from you. So you're listening to Esther McVey on LBC. It's just about 6:15 and it's time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
Thank you. The UK is set to get a new Prime Minister in a matter of months after Theresa May outlined her exit from Downing Street, admitting she'd failed over delivering Brexit. Detectives are questioning a man and a woman on suspicion of murder after the deaths of 2 teenage boys in Sheffield. It's been confirmed the Queen will host a state banquet for President Trump, and he'll meet Prince Charles for tea when he comes to the UK in June. LBC weather, cloudy with some patchy rain ahead for Scotland. Any showers though elsewhere, clearing away overnight, a low of 5 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. On the M25 clockwise, there are 10 miles of queues from junction 21A for St Albans to junction 25 for Enfield. It's because a lorry's broken down, a lane stays closed, so it's taking over an hour to get through. Anti-clockwise on the M25, it's taking around an hour to queue to the Dartford Tunnel from junction 4 for Orpington. It's after 2 cars broke down earlier. There were delays in Hackney. Mayor Street southbound remains closed because of an accident between Wells Street and Victoria Park Road. In Tottenham, Watermead Way stays closed in both directions. That's after a fire in a warehouse yesterday. There were queues in Kingston, Penryn Road. That stays closed in both directions because of the World War II bomb that was found yesterday, and there's no Woolwich Ferry. That's because of a strike.
The European elections results. Follow the fallout. Starting Sunday evening from 10 with Ian Dale and an LBC election special with Nick Ferrari. Bank holiday Monday morning from 6 a.m. LBC.
So much confusion. Half-price carbonara with car insurance? Do I want another meal or just a good deal? Confused.com give you £20 free Texaco fuel with your car insurance. A free gift that makes sense? It's that easy. £20 free Texaco fuel with your car insurance. Don't be confused. Be Confused.com. Full T's and C's online. Scottish postcode exceptions and conditions apply. Offer ends 31st of May.
LBC.
F1 is a story of constant evolution. In the 50s, Fangio pushed the boundaries.
In the 70s, Team Lotus gave us speed.
In the 80s, Senna and Prost gave us rivalry.
And in 2012, Sky Sports gave it a home. Now, here's to a new chapter. Sky Sports F1, the home of live and exclusive F1.
Ticket market, how can I help?
I'd like a ticket to Wellness Fest 2019, please. It's a weekend of self-discovery.
How would you like to pay?
Well, I believe money is a societal construct and that true value...
Credit card, debit card?
Oh, right.
Some people think they're so special, but with the daily jackpot on Paddy Power Games, someone wins by 10 p.m. every day. So don't think you're special if you win it.
Address, please.
I like to think of myself as a citizen of Earth.
Paddy Power Games. Jackpots must be awarded by 10 p.m. and vary from day to day. Jackpots shared with other operators. Available on selected games. T's and C's at paddypower.com. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
1 in 2 people believe they should check their work email on holiday. 1 in 3 believe it's okay to eat a colleague's lunch. And 1 in 14 believe it's okay to steal loo roll from work. People believe all sorts of strange things. Some people believe that insurance companies try to avoid paying claims. But last year, Zurich paid 99% of insurance claims made by their UK customers. Zurich, an insurance company you can believe in. To find out more, visit zurich.co.uk/99.
The feel of hot rubber on tarmac. The smell of petrol in your nostrils. High-quality adventures need high-quality tyres. Michelin tyres. Tyres that run for miles. Tyres that fun for miles. A tyre that makes other tyres cry when they look in the mirror. The type of...
Yeah, we've only got 30 seconds. That'll do.
For long-lasting performance, choose Michelin tyres. Available from the experts at QuickFit. Get a free tyre safety check at your local centre now.
It's the last few days of the Furniture Village sale. Everything is reduced in-store and online, including all our famous brands. So whether you're looking for a sofa, a dining table or a bed, we're sure there's something for you in the Furniture Village sale. Now with up to 50% off. But hurry, extra bank holiday savings end Monday.
Esther McVey on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
And what a defining day it's been in politics today as the Prime Minister resigns. What does that mean for Brexit? I'm wanting to hear from you. I want to know from you, what does that new Prime Minister have to do, whoever they may be, to try and strike a new deal? Do you think that's possible? Do you think that it's WTO Brexit is the way forward? Or would you like to see Article 50 revoked? Do you think the only way forward is remaining in the EU? Would you like to see another delay? What is it you'd like to see and why would you like to see that? Call us on 0345 6060 973. Text us on 84850 or Twitter on @LBC. Whoever said politicians don't hear, tell you, being in the hot seat here at LBC, you get to hear everything. You get to see all the tweets that is coming through and all of the comments there. So what have you got to say on that? Now, some people say it's all about compromise. That is what you've got to do. This is what Theresa May had to say in her departing speech this morning.
It will be for my successor to seek a way forward that honours the result of the referendum. To succeed, he or she will have to find consensus in Parliament where I have not. Such a consensus can only be reached if those on all sides of the debate are willing to compromise.
So Theresa May thought it was all about compromise, but had there been too much compromise? Is that why the withdrawal agreement didn't get through the House? Is that why we saw the start of the Brexit party and how well that has done, a couple of weeks old, and surged to the lead in the polling? But I'm going to go to Sebastian there from Rhondda Valley, South Wales. Hello, Sebastian.
Hello, Esther. Good afternoon. Surely, I'd like to put a question to you. Surely, whoever the next Conservative Party leader is, surely one of the things they have to do is call a general election, because simply there isn't, for whatever, if we come out of the EU with a deal or without a deal, surely there isn't a majority in the current government to do that. I think there's a majority of like 3, and given that when Theresa May initially tried to leave the EU on March the 29th, which was set in stone, she was forced to seek an extension. So surely the new Conservative leader has to seek a general election immediately.
And you'd say that was what, immediately, even before the 31st of October, when we'd have to have come out of the EU?
Well,
I'm asking that because there isn't much time there, and that's the date we're coming out, and people would question, why would you be having an election now when there's other things you should be focusing on? Would that not be Westminster consumed by Westminster when people are saying, tearing their hair out up and down the country, get on with sorting this mess out? Because it's not just about politicians, it's about businesses saying this corrosive uncertainty is not helping us. It's about people, members of the public, say this is not helping our day-to-day life. Get back on with domestic politics. So to have an election, would that not just seem as if we were just consumed with ourselves?
Of course, I agree a point there on the uncertainty. I think even if the new leader went in the direction of a no deal, at least it'd give businesses, people that certainty if that's the direction the government was taking us in. But surely the majority isn't there. And like you said, Esther, if the new Conservative leader doesn't go for an election, surely approaching the October the 31st when we're due to leave the EU, wouldn't they be in the same situation as Theresa May would be before a couple of weeks before the 29th of March, where she was forced to seek an extension?
OK, well, that's a very interesting point you bring up there, Sebastian. So what had happened was, they say sort of Parliament seized control of what was happening, took it away from government. But remember, they only asked her to seek an extension. She didn't have to, or it could have been that actually the conditions that people wanted were too much what the EU wanted. So she could have come out. Yes, of course you can.
So you just said that Parliament gave Theresa May the mandate to seek the extension. So are you saying that Theresa May didn't have to listen to Parliament then? So she could have just taken us out on the default legal position of leaving with no deal on the 29th?
Yes, because if she thought she could have went and sought an extension, but she said it could have said, well, actually weighing it up on probabilities, this is what it would mean, or actually what's coming back isn't working, or that time limit isn't right. So she only had to seek it. She didn't have to do it. Therefore, what you're saying is quite right. We could have come out there. And that's why this date of the 31st of October is so important. We've let everybody down. You know, there were so many people up and down the country saying we don't necessarily like how it's gone on. We don't think this deal's that good, but at least we'd be legally out on the 29th of March. And when that date passed, that bond we have, that trust we have, when a Prime Minister says, whatever it was, 110 times, we're coming out on that date. Some people were just hanging on for that date, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So can I go to, thanks there, Sebastian, can I go to Anne now? Anne, who's in Bromley.
Oh, hi, Esther. I voted to leave, and I attended a rally where you spoke, and I was very impressed, actually. However, I have to ask you, why did you vote for Theresa May's deal on the third time it was presented? If it wasn't acceptable the first and second time, why was it acceptable on the third? And sorry, but I've got one more question.
That's fine.
A gentleman phoned in earlier and said, would you be prepared to go out with a no deal if you were Prime Minister? And you said, yes, you would if you couldn't get a deal. But Theresa May's deal was not a good deal, but you voted for it. So how can we have faith that you won't say you've got a deal that is just as bad as hers if you become Prime Minister?
OK, so a brilliant question. You're quite right. I resigned from Cabinet because I said it was a bad deal back in November. I still believe it was a bad deal, but what did we have at the time? At the time, no deal was still on the table, and we had the 39 billion. So when I said back in November, right, you've got those two things, go forward and get a free trade agreement for the 39 billion, and you must get rid of the backstop, because I believe, and most people do, are strong believers in the union. The clock's ticking away, tick, tick, tick. Nothing had happened in January. Tick, tick, tick. Nothing had happened in February. We're coming up to March. So I voted no. And then this was the seminal moment, the 29th of March. And that was the moment everybody was waiting for, from which everything that was going to happen next could only get worse. So you had to decide, should you at least be legally out, fulfill your commitments that you'd promised everybody on the 29th of March, and then fight very hard for the second part of the agreement? Or did you see what is happening now, a sort of more chaos going forward, and not living up to what you'd promised everybody being legally out on the 29th of March. So as the situation's changed and got fundamentally worse, I had to change what my opinion was. And remember, we saw two key things. The Prime Minister saying we were out on the 29th of March, actually marching through the lobby to extend the date, something she'd said absolutely would not happen, answered a question to me on the floor of the House. Come what may, she said she would not. And then the other thing, which was worse, collective responsibility of the cabinet collapsing, which meant anything could happen. So yes, I changed my mind on the last decision because everything was getting worse and I wanted to be legally out, and that never happened. Now we've lost that date. We now have more time. So time now to get no deal back on the table, the 39 billion on the table. And if we need to come out with no deal, then of course we're coming out with no deal, because that is the default position. And that's what, as I said, at that rally you were at in the centre of London, that's what I said.
But what if you were only able to negotiate a deal that's as bad as Theresa May's? Would you say, well, I've got a deal, so we don't have to come out on no deal?
Absolutely not. I've always believed, our manifesto believed, I believed Theresa May believed this. No deal is better than a bad deal. We've always said that, and I've always believed no deal is better than a bad deal. We had a bad deal, biggest loss in Parliament in the history. 230 MPs voted against her deal. It's a bad deal. You've now got the EU saying we're not going to move or budge. So our best time is best spent preparing for no deal straight away. That's what we've got to do, preparations. All I'm saying, the door is always open, as you'd say in any negotiation. If you want to come forward, EU, please do. But obviously now our time is best focusing on what we're doing, because you're not moving. The House doesn't want to vote for this, but the country knows and voted to come out.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there she was listening. I think I gave her food for thought as she went off the phone there. But look, we've got some people coming in here. Esther, do you think Remain MPs should be deselected because they are not standing on the Conservative manifesto? Marilyn from Wimbledon. Should they be deselected? Well, look, the relationship between an MP and their association, that is their relationship. And you know what? You might think, we don't agree on this with our MP, but you know what? They're an amazing MP and they've helped get people into jobs. They've helped get the deficit down. They are brilliant on other things that we've done. And remember, we've got to come together after we've come out of the EU. So really, that is a relationship between the association and that MP, and that is something that they will figure out for themselves, and that is as a very personal relationship. Revoke Article 50. This has caused enough stress and anxiety for enough people. I haven't got a name there. If you're asking for things to be revoked, please do call in and give us your name. Anyway, you're listening to Esther McVey on LBC. It's just gone 6:30 and it's time for the news with Lisa Aziz.
The UK should have a new Prime Minister by the end of July after an emotional Theresa May said she'd be standing down in a fortnight. Labour's repeated calls for a general election following Mrs May's admission she'd failed to deliver Brexit. Boris Johnson remains one of the favourites now to replace her, while Jeremy Hunt's become the first cabinet minister to announce he's running for the Tory leadership. A man and a woman in their 30s have been arrested on suspicion of murder after the deaths of two teenage boys in Sheffield. 6 children were taken to hospital this morning following what police are calling a major incident at a house. The Queen will host a state banquet for US President Donald Trump, and he'll meet Prince Charles for tea when he comes to the UK in June. Buckingham Palace says he will also visit Downing Street for talks with the outgoing Prime Minister. LBC weather, cloudy with some patchy rain for Scotland. Any showers though elsewhere, clearing away overnight, a low of 5 degrees.
28 countries voting for a fresh set of MEPs. And this Sunday, it's results time in the European elections. I'm Ian Dale. Join me from 10 p.m. for LBC's Election Night Live. We'll have reporters at all the key counts, the sharpest insight, opinion, and of course, you.
Then from 6 a.m. on Bank Holiday Monday, a Nick Ferrari at Breakfast election special. The reaction and the impact on British politics.
The European election results start Sunday night from 10 on LBC.
Hey, you know what they say, go big or go home.
So get yourself to Big Motoring World for up to 2,000 used BMWs, Audis, Mercedes, VWs, Nissans, Fords, Vauxhalls, Peugeots, Fiats, Mitsubishis, Citroens, Hondas. Oh, I know that's a big list, but I already told you, go big or go home. See bigmotoringworld.co.uk or find them minutes from the M25. Hit it, ladies.
Big Motoring World.
To all who've travelled with Eurotunnel the shuttle, the outdoorsy types, foodie types, E-types, Jaguars, dogs, cats, alpacas, boot packers, last-minute packers, kitchen sink packers, motorhomes, motorbikers, mountain bikers, surfboarders, snowboarders, crossing borders with feet up on the dashboarders, long legs, first timers, and the let's just take it all in our own timers. It's our 25th birthday, but we're wishing you many happy returns. Join the celebration at Eurotunnel.com.
Bangers and mash, showers and power ballads, tea and toast. Some things just belong together. And if you own a small business, your double act is work you and life you. So at Starling Bank, we mix pleasure with business too. Manage your banking from one beautifully simple app with no monthly fees, instant spending notifications and 24/7 support. Apply in minutes today and say hello to the ultimate work-life bank balance. Just search for Starling Bank, the bank that works like you. Eligibility criteria applies.
Top marks to the @Uber UK driver who battled the traffic to get my disabled mum home, then messaged to let me know she was safe. #great service. That was a tweet from John Preston. To all the drivers changing the way the world moves, we couldn't have said it better. Uber. Where to?
When you buy the award-winning Alfa Romeo Giulia or the Stelvio Performance SUV, you can pretend it's for the 5-year warranty, the 3 years free servicing, 5 years roadside assistance, or the 5 years 0% APR. But the real reason is, you just want an Alfa Romeo. Start something beautiful. Visit alfaromeo.co.uk.
5 years or 75,000 miles warranty. Minimum 35% customer deposit. 60 months term. HP sales until 30th of June 2019. T's and C's apply. Alfa Romeo Financial Services.
Save on everything in the Bank Holiday sale at Oak Furnitureland. It's delivered free too. Online and at a store near you. Ends Monday.
F1 is a story of constant evolution. In the 50s, Fangio pushed the boundaries.
In the 70s, Team Lotus gave us speed.
In the 80s, Senna and Prost gave us rivalry.
And in 2012, Sky Sports gave it a home.
Now, here's to a new chapter. Sky Sports F1, the home of live and exclusive F1.
Esther McVey on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What a day it's been. If you follow Brexit, if you follow politics, then what a day it's been. And I want to know from you, do you want the new Prime Minister, whoever that might be, to try and strike a new deal, or do you think a WTO Brexit is now inevitable? Give us a call on 0345 6060 973 or text us on 84850, and you can always tweet us on @LBC. And if it's, I don't know, if you're a Remainer, then what do you think? Should we revoke Article 50? Do you think another delay is important? What do you think? I've had some Remainers coming in, sending tweets, sending messages through Facebook. Some of you haven't put your name attached to your comment, but I know we've got June on the phone now from Romford. What do you want to say, June?
Hi, I think it's interesting with Brexiteers, and I'll put my hand up to being an openly always Remainer, but I think it's interesting with regards to Brexiteers that they'll talk about democracy and discuss the democratic process, and at the same time, the 17.4 million or so people that voted to leave, in a lot of cases were massively misinformed. I looked today at a poster. We were laughing. I work in the NHS, and I looked at a poster today advising that £350 million a week will be pumped back into the NHS. A lot of the people that we go around and talk to on a daily basis believed that and voted Brexit as a result of that. Maybe if we had another referendum, then we'd have an honest opinion, at which point I think a lot of people would accept that. But currently, at the moment, we've got a position where Brexit is not seen by at least a significant proportion of the country as a valid referendum due to the misinformation.
So you think people didn't necessarily understand, couldn't comprehend what was going on. And remember, at the time, a lot of Brexiteers were somewhat frustrated when they heard all of the project fear that was being pumped out about even voting for Brexit. 500,000 people would become unemployed in the next 18 months. Didn't happen. We've got record employment. How the economy would nosedive straight away. None of this happened. So I think you're quite right. It did upset people, the number on that side of the bus. Yes, it did. I think it was probably meant to be more of an example of how that money that was going to be saved from the annual sort of fee, as it were, into the EU could be spent. So, there were words either side, but no more so from the Brexit side. The absolute fear that was pumped out from government on what would happen if people voted Brexit. And a leaflet went through everybody's home on you must sort of vote to remain. But I guess democracy is about people making a decision. And people made that decision. And of course, you can look things up on the internet. You can research things yourself. You can talk amongst your mates. You can go down the pub. Never has it been so easy to find information at your fingertips if you thought, blimey, that sounds too good to be true. So really, people either side of the argument really did look into it and did choose. And it was about control, it was about sovereignty, it was about a better future, it was about trading, it was about more jobs in the suburbs, in the regions, in the north. Lots of positive reasons, all of them fundamentally to get out. But obviously you didn't think that, June.
No, and there's a whole plethora of reasons why people shouldn't have got out. For my sins and for my cultural background, I'm Scottish, and if we go for a referendum that stood to count, go for the referendum of independence in Scotland, where, and I didn't live there at the time and haven't done for 30 years, but the reality of the mass media at that point, and the vast majority of the Remain stay within the UK voting machine was all around, and you will remain within a European Union. Those guys have made that decision based on something that is absolute fallacy then, on a misinformation, from my perspective, on a misinformation propaganda machine that stepped in to get right-wing opinion through in an almost quasi Nigel Farage position of, hey, we're going to get something better.
But it wasn't just right-wing, was it? I mean, up north where I am, all the Labour seats people were wanting Brexit, and that was about sovereignty, that was about having greater control, was looking about a future. So it actually split political affiliation. It split probably families and households.
Absolutely, I agree, Esther. I think that's really fundamentally true. And if we look at that across the world, what is happening with the centre ground is it's being devoid of people and of parties as everybody swings to the extreme left and the extreme right.
So how do you think we'd go forward then? We're having a really good conversation here. What would you think is the best way forward? You've been very straight, that you voted Remain, you've seen the way the country's voted. What would you like to see? Do you think you can ever come to terms with sort of leaving? Do you think we need to tell you how that was going to be better for you? What do you think you're missing hearing for you to think, OK, I'll go along with Brexit?
Well, I'll push back on a little bit, Esther. How many people voted for Remain?
About 16 million, and there was about 17.5 million who wanted to get out.
OK, so we've got 1.5 million people in the country, in essence, who are making the decision for the rest of the country. What we've got is a very, very split decision, and that is incredibly difficult to maintain the difference for the next 30 years. This is a lifetime decision. I think it's so close. I would hold my hands up and believe David Cameron, as a whole load of other people have done, but actually it's so close that it's never... I can't see how the Tories are ever going to get out the mess, because the whole country is in a mess. You've got people moving to the left, people moving to the right, and actually this normal debate that you and I are having, and we do sit in very different ends of a political spectrum, but we're not extreme ends of that political spectrum, therefore we can have the debate. The problem is that debate is moving away from people's grasp at the moment. What I would like, genuinely, is a second referendum.
Okay, June, I want to thank you for that, because, we're having a good discussion there, and that really is what it's got to be about. How do we heal the country going forward? How do we say what that narrative is for a positive Brexit that is opportunities going forward? But I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for calling in. We've now got Paul from Edgware on the phone. What have you got to say, Paul?
Hi, Esther. Thanks for taking my call. When you talk about a WTO Brexit, I mean, my question is, what do you actually mean by that?
Well, that obviously is the baseline, what people would talk about, the World Trade Organization rules. And that's sort of the baseline from which, as you will no doubt probably know, you have side agreements, micro agreements, international agreements, of all which are balanced on top of that sort of moving forward, which, if people had done more of what they should have been doing more of, which is vital you do to get that smooth transition, is get all of those extra micro deals and deals on top, and that is how you then move away. But of course, most people want the free trade agreement that would take us seamlessly through.
But if we left with no deal, I mean, what about all the other agreements which are in place that we have with the EU, which will be affected? It's not just trade, is it? For example, Euratom. Do you think it's a good idea that we should leave Euratom with nothing in place on the 31st of October? And
these are the things that we needed to, which is what I was saying, these micro agreements, these side agreements.
Micro, is it, with respect? Euratom has nothing to do with trade. Let's be fair.
No, not trade.
It has nothing to do with WTO. So do you think leaving Euratom with no deal is a good idea?
But like things like the Paris Agreement on climate, that isn't to do with the EU either, but we've got these on top, so we all adhere to them. So that is something else that we would need to. So I'm agreeing with you. We're going to be violently agreeing on certain things. How do we make sure that these things work for both of us? How do we get those agreements and deals on top?
I don't think we are agreeing, because you're advocating for what you call a WTO deal Brexit, which is undefined. And again, this is the whole problem with the whole Brexit process, is that everything seems to be undefined and not very well explained. So let's take out that. Let's just talk about Euratom, for example. You're advocating we should leave the EU with get rid of every single legal infrastructure we have in place with the EU. Isn't that correct? That every single agreement we have with the EU would terminate, whether it's to do with trade, health, transport, planes, whatever.
But hang on a sec. This is where we've already got and put in place. So when you talked about aircrafts there, that will be in place. Where you talk about hauliers, that's in place. And these are either roll-on agreements or, as I said, extra on-top agreements that we should have been putting in place. That will continue on.
What's in place of Euratom?
Once we leave, that would move on. Now, this is where we are going to agree. The preparation is key, and that is what I've said. And this is the situation.
These agreements do not roll. Legal agreements do not roll. If you need both parties' agreements to roll. So if we wanted to roll Euratom, we would need to agree with them.
And that's what I've just been saying. You get those agreements on top. The WTO is the baseline. You get the extra agreements on top. That is what we've been doing for the last couple of years. Civil servants have been doing. And then when we leave, we have these in place. I have always said, Another reason that I left Cabinet. Why are we not getting our planning in place should we leave on no deal? In fact, I asked on the floor of the House to have daily and weekly updates for those no deal plannings. Look, give us a call. Lots of people calling through 034560 60973, and we're heading to the news headlines right now with Lisa Aziz.
The UK is set to get a new Prime Minister in a matter of months after Theresa May outlined her exit from Downing Street, admitting she'd failed over delivering Brexit. Detectives are questioning a man and a woman on suspicion of murder after the deaths of 2 teenage boys in Sheffield. It's been confirmed the Queen will host a state banquet for President Trump, and he'll meet Prince Charles for tea when he comes to the UK in June. LBC weather, cloudy with some patchy rain for Scotland. Any showers elsewhere clearing away overnight, a low of 5 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. On the M25 clockwise, there are queues from junction 21A for St Albans to junction 25 for Enfield after a lorry broke down earlier. It's still taking nearly an hour to get through. It's heavy in Hackney. Mare Street southbound is closed because of an accident between Wells Street and Victoria Park Road. There are delays heading out of town on the A13. A van's broken down in the Movers Lane underpass, so there are queues from Canning Town. There are also queues in Kingston. Penryn Road stays closed both ways because of the World War II bomb that was found yesterday. And on the Underground, there's no Metropolitan line from Harrow on the Hill to Watford because of a passenger being taken ill on a train.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Andrew Pearce.
So Theresa May has finally put us all out of her agony and resigned. Who should replace her? And should there be a general election?
Andrew Pearce on LBC.
Bangers and mash, showers and power ballads, tea and toast. Some things just belong together. And if you own a small business, your double act is work you and life you. So at Starling Bank, we mix pleasure with business too. Manage your banking from one beautifully simple app with no monthly fees, instant spending notifications and 24/7 support. Apply in minutes today and say hello to the ultimate work-life bank balance. Just search for Starling Bank, the bank that works like you. Eligibility criteria applies.
Save on everything in the bank holiday sale at Oak Furnitureland. It's delivered free too, online and at a store near you. Ends Monday.
Hi there, I'm Andrew from Network Rail with some important news if you're planning on travelling towards the end of May. As part of ongoing work to improve the railway, we're carrying out essential rail upgrades across Britain. These will be taking place from Saturday the 25th of May to Sunday the 2nd of June. The line between Wickford and Southend Victoria will be closed for 9 days. A rail replacement bus service will run between all intermediate stations. To help keep your plans on track, make sure to check before you travel at nationalrail.co.uk/May.
At QuickFit, we want you to have complete peace of mind. That's why right now, we're giving away a free dashcam worth $79.99 to every customer who buys 2 or more Michelin tyres. Just book online or head down to your local QuickFit today and drive away happy with a free dashcam. For terms and conditions, visit quickfit.com.
Have you discovered Karcher's most advanced pressure washers? With Karcher's Full Control Plus technology, you can select the perfect setting for every cleaning task with just the touch of a button. What's more, until the 31st of May, you can claim up to £50 cashback on our Full Control Plus pressure washers. Visit your local B&Q, Screwfix or Wickes and get yours today. Terms and conditions apply. Visit karcher.co.uk to find out more.
It's the last few days of the Furniture Village sale. Everything is reduced in-store and online, including all our famous brands. So whether you're looking for a sofa, a dining table or a bed, we're sure there's something for you in the Furniture Village sale. Now with up to 50% off. But hurry, extra bank holiday savings end Monday.
Alexa, who is the best English rugby player of all time?
Good question. My favourite is Johnny Wilkinson.
Really? Oh, nice one. Alexa, who is the greatest rugby player of all time?
My favourite is definitely Sergio Perez.
Oh.
Take out Vitality Health Insurance today and we'll give you an Amazon Echo Dot, like Johnny here. You also get an Amazon Smart Plug. And to find your inner athlete, enable the Alexa Vitality skill for fitness and nutrition tips. To get your Amazon bundle today, just search Vitality Health. Vitality. Positively different. New member offer available on certain Vitality plans until 30th of June 2019. Minimum monthly premiums, terms and conditions apply.
On the evening of Tuesday the 3rd, my husband and I were discussing how best to sell our house. I told him Purple Bricks make you do it all yourself. That was fake news. Purple Bricks can do everything from viewings to negotiating your sale. For this, I would like to apologise to my husband unreservedly. We request privacy at this difficult time. Thank you.
Oh dear. Save yourself from commisery at purplebricks.co.uk.
Fixed fee payable on instruction or after 10 months viewing service cost extra. See website for more details.
This is LBC with Esther McVey. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
It's just gone 10 to 7. I'm on LBC and I want to hear from you. Do you want the new Prime Minister, whoever that Prime Minister is, to try and strike a new deal? Or do you think a WTO Brexit is now inevitable? Give us a call 0345 6060 973. Text us on 84850 or send us a tweet at LBC. What a day in the saga that has been Brexit. 1,000 days, and it seems like for people who voted Brexit, 1,000 excuses not to deliver it. So what do you think there? And people who voted Remain, what do you think? Should we be revoking Article 50? We've got Will from Leeds on the line. Hi, Will.
Hi, Esther, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks.
So listen, earlier on today, Laura Koonsberg on the BBC, she revealed that following the 2017 general election, one MP had told her that him and 6 of his mates, and I'm quoting this, can stop anything happening or create any kind of trouble. Now, how does the next leader of the Conservatives avoid the coups of their backbench when the numerical situation of MPs is just so precarious?
Well, can I say, first of all, you saying that to me makes me feel really, really sad that some people, 6 people, could be conspiring to change what is happening in Parliament, when I view it that we're public servants, so we listen to what the public has said. They gave a vote and we put that into place. I seriously hope that 7 people never said that, because you're up against 60 million people. And for me, the UK has always been about that nobody is above the law. So let's hope that isn't. And can I tell you, that should never happen. Equally, Article 50 has already been triggered. That is where we are. The default position is coming out with no deal. The date has just changed, and that date is the 31st of October. So whoever whoever the new leader is, and I've put my hand in, I'm a Brexiteer, that date is set at stone, and that's what we've got to do. We've heard the EU saying they're not going to change. We've seen Parliament has said, we don't like this deal. So Parliament doesn't like this deal, but the EU wants it. The EU wants it, but Parliament and the people say no. So we have to start preparing for no deal. No deal is back on the table. 39 billion is back in our pocket. We carry on doing our preparation. The door is open. If somebody wants to come in, they can do. But that is the position.
Look, I totally agree. I'm an ardent supporter of leaving on WTO terms. But the point remains is that, if you take away the DUP, you're still running a minority government. How is the next leader going to conceivably avoid the coups of any backbench MPs or any MPs that disagree with them when the numerical situation is so precarious?
You see, what had happened is Theresa May opened up all of these debates in the House and votes against her. She kept bringing a motion to the floor of the House. A motion could be amended. She didn't need to do any of that.
Yeah.
So that was why things went wrong. And remember, when the MPs, Cooper, Letwin, took over the timetable of Parliament, remember, they only gave her to seek an extension. She didn't need to do that. The date was set. She could have come out on the 29th of March. That was what was in stone, but she moved and extended the deadline. That is why it's so important. We can't move that date. She didn't need to do that. She made it far more complicated than it needed to be, and she voted for it herself to extend the date, and that really is the problem, and that was where trust with the public was lost. So I'm going to go to, I'll say thanks to Will for that. How about Stephen from Woking?
Hello. You've been pushing the idea of leaving on WTO terms. Have you any idea how many countries in the world trade solely on WTO? Do you actually know the answer to that question?
what we know is people don't just have...
Do you
hang
know
on.
the
Yes,
answer
I
to
do.
that question?
Two things. One, I'm asking people to call in with what they want. People want a free trade agreement, but the answer to your question, as I explained before, WTO is the base, and from there, people have deals on top. So people, hang on a sec, people don't just have a WTO agreement.
There is one country in the world that trades on WTO terms, and that is that well-known economic superpower, Mauritania.
Yes, and we know this.
Mauritania is the only country that trades on WTO. Then my second point is, WTO terms only deal with trade in goods. 80% of our economy is services. I run my own IT consulting company. All of my work is in Europe. So if we leave on WTO terms, I will move my company because it doesn't deal with trade in services, and services is 80% of our economy. And the other thing is that leaving under WTO terms would mean that there would have to be border checks, there would have to be disruption to supply chain, and you may think you know how to run automobile companies and aerospace companies better than JLR and BMW and Siemens and Airbus, but you don't. They have all said it will be catastrophic for them. Ford have actually said it would result in them losing over 500 million in the first 6 months. They know their business better than you.
Okay. So, Stephen, first of all, we said, what did people think about WTO? I made it very clear that actually that was a baseline from which you develop, and all countries, except the one you've said, have done extra side deals, micro deals on top, and that was what the 1,000 days of preparation were to be. Equally, when you're talking about the supply chains for cars, a percentage comes from the EU. You're quite right, and there is a supply chain there through the EU. You do know that actually quite a large percentage of the supply chain comes from without the EU. And you know what? It all works perfectly well for those component parts that come from outside the EU for them to work smoothly. So don't give us the fear stories. Because actually, if you put the planning in place, and this I will totally agree with you, of course we need to do the planning. We don't need to, and we should never come out without planning. A lot of planning has been done with the civil servants. We've done that. So you're right on that. Planning is right, but obviously we still do some of those things. So I want to have you've been listening to Esther McVey here on LBC, and I want to say thank you for all of the calls. It's been fantastic. Coming up tonight, later on, it's Nick Abbott, but here, before all that, we have the lovely Andrew Pierce.